Hello and welcome to Australia in Space TV. My name's Chris Cubbage. I'm the editor with My Security Media. Today we're crossing to California, NASA Ames Research Centre. Bruce Yost, Director with the Small Spacecraft Systems Virtual Institute. Bruce, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Bruce, you're going to be coming to Perth. It's quite exciting to see you in person next month in October for the Indo-Pacific Robotics, Autonomy, AI and Cyber Conference, 7th to the 8th of October. In Perth. You're also going to be delivering a workshop. I think Small Spacecraft Systems Virtual Institute maybe introduced us to your role, and it seems to be quite unique within NASA itself in terms of we'll be talking about CubeSats and small sat architecture, right?
Right. So I have to admit that I've probably got the best job in NASA, in my opinion, working with small spacecraft and the great people in NASA that are promoting the use of small spacecraft. My specific role in the Institute is to coordinate and collaborate with various groups, stakeholders, if you will, to help us understand what is the state of the art of small spacecraft technologies. And therefore, that informs our decisions within NASA on which investments to make to advance the capability and the utility of small spacecraft further. So that's probably the biggest part of the many things I do in the small spacecraft program that's actually housed within the Space Technology Mission Directorate within NASA.
Well, I've got a paper that you wrote, I think around 2017. So even though that's 8 or so years ago, this is still relatively new in terms of NASA's outreach to the industry and getting sort of the best practices for small spacecraft development.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've noticed is that the small spacecraft in general, even though it's a growing economy, if you will, it's very attractive in that it has relatively low barriers to entry. So that a lot of different diverse groups can work with small spacecraft, try to develop small spacecraft companies, try to help NASA and other agencies and government folks do the missions that they need to get done. But there's always a lessons learned part of that. It's still spacecraft. You still have to launch them. You still have to test them. So we, as part of the support to the community that we provide, is we try to maintain a network of those sorts of best practices and community of practice types of things to the benefit of all. And the workshop that we'll be having in Perth later on in October will be centered around that area in general. Pitfalls to avoid, resources to turn to, different other groups to talk to for help, and that sort of thing.
Is there any aspects of the design that is moving faster than others? What are the sort of the key trends that you're seeing? Even things like propulsion systems seem to be quite developing rapidly as well.
Oh, no, great question. So the propulsion is finally starting to gain traction. Propulsion in a small scale is hard for a lot of physical reasons, obviously. But we are starting to see some traction there. But the other thing that's really exciting to me and to others is that there's another kind of open the gate, let the horses out type of thing, where it's not we're not focusing so much on the hardware side of things, because that is becoming relatively robust. There's a lot of different suppliers now in that area, but on the software side, we're seeing some really interesting opportunities for some types of applications, especially when you talk about using multiple spacecraft as a team that we previously had not really been able to consider. And it's really it's the sky's the limit. I didn't mean to be punny there, sorry. But it's something that we're not really sure where it's going to wind up, but it certainly is having a lot of generating a lot of interest and having a lot of impact as we talk.
Well, the other one is, and you talked about the software, I take it that also creates capability, say, satellite swarming and those kind of things as well, right? And I take it it's not so much the swarming, but also constellation management.
Exactly. And a lot of that technology is being moved from the ground to the spacecraft in space, wherever they are. And we're putting more and more of the responsibility of what to do, the operations, onto the spacecraft themselves. So therefore, The AI and the autonomy part of things really have, well, and also, by the way, spacecraft, I would define spacecraft as robots. They just happen to be in space.
Yeah.
That makes the conference that's so exciting for me to be there and to interact with everybody.
Well, maybe one question. Have you been to Australia before?
I have. I've been to Sydney.
Great. Well, it's wonderful to have you over on the West Coast to West Coast in this particular domain. But Bruce, we're going to keep this relatively short. We want the audience to sort of get an understanding of what the opportunity is. Who would be the best sort of audience for the workshop in particular? But you'll also be chairing a session, satellite space data and business intelligence, as well as providing a keynote in one of the closing plenary. But yeah, who would your target market? It's not just academics and the like, but these are for commercial operators, right?
Yeah, so commercial operators, probably not the large aerospace companies that have established a space business for maybe decades. They're probably they've got their own processes and ideas, and so it's not too much targeted at them, but more targeted at maybe a startup, maybe a university lab that wants to start working with spacecraft and try to do space missions and space data. The workshops is probably more targeted for what I'll call the novice developer, the novice mission developer as they get started. And then the talk I'll be giving will do kind of a summary of the state of the art of the industry and the technologies that build that up. That would obviously be interested in either people that want to invest in the aerospace economy, or companies or individuals that are thinking of starting a company or growing a company or whatever, to kind of help give them an idea of what we're looking for as a world for these types of technologies.
Well, look, so far this year we've been in Singapore, in India, and obviously here in Australia. There's no shortage of, as you say, the startups and the like, even getting some space heritage in terms of having satellites up. And even here at Curtin University in Western Australia with the Binar CubeSat project as well, you definitely should have a captured audience here, and hopefully gives you at NASA some exposure into what's happening in the Indo-Pacific region in terms of these small spacecraft. It's a fascinating area. Really looking forward to hosting you in Perth, Bruce, for the Indo-Pacific Robotics, Autonomy, AI Cyber Conference and Exhibition, 7th to the 8th of October at the Pan Pacific Hotel in Perth. Thank you so much, Bruce. We'll see you in a few short weeks, in particular for your session on small spacecraft systems from the Virtual Institute there at the NASA Ames Research Centre. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to being there.